This month I'm talking all about my horror short stories. Today's anthology is Demonic Wildlife. This book includes stories about animals who have been possessed or who are otherwise evil and is super fun and campy and funny. My story is called Adam, Eve, and Mr. Bubbles, and my animal is a snake, and it's quite ridiculous. I laughed through the entire composition of this piece and whenever I revisit it. So I'm going to read to you part of Adam, Eve, and Mr. Bubbles. And bear with me, there's a lot of dialogue, so I'm going to do my best. You know, Mr. Bubbles, that is just the sort of thing I would hallucinate my snake saying if I were having some sort of psychotic break, I said, my face pressed against the glass of my snake's aquarium. Big words from a man who named his snake Mr. Bubbles. Mr. Bubbles hissed through smooth, scaled lips. His thin, pink tongue flitted mockingly in my direction. It's a cutesy name for a perceived deadly and scary creature. It's ironic, Mr. Bubbles. Is it, Adam? Mr. Bubbles' large, dark eyes stared into me, both black and deep. His eye contact felt cold. His tongue continued to pierce the air in front of him as the folds of his scaled body wound up around and beneath the fake log in the center of his cage. I'm not saying this kind of idiocracy is exactly why Eve left you, Mr. Bubbles continued, but this is exactly why Eve left you. Shut up, Mr. Bubbles, I barked at the glass before dropping my head on my folded arms. Come on, Adam. You're Adam. She was Eve. You have a snake. That kind of blatant symbolism just cannot be allowed in the real world. So, did you lead her into temptation, Mr. Bubbles? Did you tempt her with the apple and then she cheated on me? Don't be stupid, Adam. I'm just a snake. A snake who is talking to me. That is talking to you, Adam. You can't say who. I'm clearly not a person. But you clearly are an asshole. Did you expect a snake to be sweet and sympathetic? If you were mouse-sized, you would already be sliding whole past my jaws, put you out of your misery. That would be rather sympathetic of you in a self-serving sort of way. Just like a snake. So, Talking Snake, formerly known as my normal pet Mr. Bubbles. What do I do now? Oh, Adam, it's obvious. Enlighten me, Mr. Bubbles. I think you named me Mr. Bubbles just because you like to say it every single time you address me. Fuck you, Mr. Bubbles. That is not what I asked. What am I supposed to do now? Kill her, obviously. I can't kill Eve, I shouted and jumped up disgusted. Then I collapsed back beside the cage under the weight of my depression. I can't kill Eve, Mr. Bubbles. Adam. She had sex with another man. Right here in this apartment. On the bed right over there. On that chair you're sitting in right now. Trust me. I was here. I groaned loudly and slithered off the chair, crumpling down onto the floor. I could not help picturing Eve naked, the way I had seen her so many times, under another body. Who was this other man? Why would she bring him home to our apartment, where we had made love potentially hundreds of times? How could that have not bothered her? How could she have come to hate me so much? I let my face rest on the bristled edge of the carpet and tried to pretend I was not watering the fibered stalks with my tears. The sounds of my strangled breaths echoed against the quiet walls left so bare when Eve had packed up all her pictures, reducing our apartment to the styling of my college dorm room. Adam, Mr. Bubbles' slippery voice called down from the cage. Don't be a pussy, Adam. Shut up, I screamed again, the sound muffled by the floor against my face. You're not mad at me, Adam. You're mad at Eve. I'm not mad, I'm hurt. I must have done something to drive her away, for her to be able to do this to me. Don't be stupid, Adam. Stop calling me stupid, Mr. Bubbles. You sound ridiculous right now. Even beyond the fact that you are crying on the floor like a baby and yelling at your pet snake. I could not argue with him. I drew myself back up from the floor, stacking my sad, undesirable body in a pile on top of my legs. I would not return to the chair. Even glancing at it gave me flashes of the way Eve would tilt her head back when she moaned, and those images made my edge of my sight go hot and red. I shook my head to dislodge the memory, and I looked back into Mr. Bubbles' dead eyes. "Now that's better, man," he hissed. Mr. Bubbles arched his body up from the log, seemingly floating in the air before flowing elegantly toward the glass. He piled the switchbacks of his flesh against the base of the cage before swimming up against the side toward the lid. "Let me out, Adam," he said. "What?" "Let me out. I will help you. I will help you kill Eve and reclaim your manhood." "Shouldn't I just go out and get drunk and try to meet a girl? Get drunk and try for a one-night stand?" Does any of that sound pleasant to you, Adam? Well, one-night stand part, maybe. What do you think your odds on the one-night stand are, Adam? You are a man in your mid-30s who just got out of a 7-year relationship. You haven't even looked at a gym since New Year's 3 years ago. You have the swelling abdomen of a yuppie who enjoys a fine IPA without the cliché obsession of running. You live in a shitty little apartment and do not pull down the paycheck to make even the drunkest of panties drop. Wow. Do you hate me, Mr. Bubbles? No, Adam. I do not hate you, Mr. Bubbles seemed to smile in the flit of his dart-like tongue. I'm trying to help you. The truth will set you free. The truth sounds terrible. But we can change the truth, Adam. We do not have to let her get away with it. We can make Eve pay and change the man you have become. I sat for a long and pregnant minute, staring down at the bulge of flesh blooming over my belt. What had she done to me? 7 years ago I had been svelte and successful. My career was taking off before I had moved to this dump for Eve's job. I had played basketball every weekend and lifted weights after work. She had lulled me into this hideous complacency just to replace me. She had destroyed me and left this mess. That bitch. Okay, Mr. Bubbles. I'm listening. So glad you're on board, Adam. How do I find her? Oh, Adam, you're not seeing clearly. Just because you no longer know where she lives does not mean you no longer know her. I know where she works, and her favorite place to eat, and where her parents live, and where her bestie Jessica lives, and how often she goes out to eat or to the movies. I just have to pick my moment. You just have to pick your moment and your method. What if the new guy is there? That is what reconnaissance is for. And as impulsive and blindly naive as Eve may be, I doubt the chosen douchebag would have moved in with her so rapidly. So I watch her. Then we strike. So that is the opening to Adam, Eve, and Mr. Bubbles, with Mr. Bubbles the snake proposing murder. So if you want to find out how that goes, you can find Demonic Wildlife on Amazon. It also has a bunch of other evil animals who are quite hilarious. So follow the links and enjoy.